here's a short video of the Maximat Compact with the quick change tool post now fitted. Spent a bit of yesterday taking about 250 thou off the base to make it fit the Maximat Compact, which has a 10-inch swing. The tool post in its sort of as delivered configuration was too high as far as where the tool sat, and you can see there now I've got the tool set up. I use the diamond tool holder just in this example, which I really like, and I've got a bit of flexibility there. That's as low as it will go, so I may in time need to take a little bit more material off the actual tool holder, but what I have done is taken about 250 thou off the base of the tool post, and you can see there where I've machined through the label, and I actually also had to machine the wedges down as well, so that they've got sufficient travel, and you can see when I do that that all works well. The Maximat sits on a workbench that I built out of some scrap timber that I had. The tool backboard and the base were an old desk that my neighbour was recycling, which I grabbed and cut to the right dimensions, which was handy, and made it no bigger than it needed to be, but quite rigid, and certainly satisfactory for the type of work I'm doing. And it also allows me to readily pack it up and move it. So I've moved house a couple of times with this machine, and the good thing about it is that it strips right down to quite manageable components, and then I can move it in and out of the basement. I've got some packing crates that I built for it, which are over here. These two crates there, amongst all my locomotive crates and other things, but that means it can be moved safely and easily. Previously I had a 13-inch lathe and a large mill. I had an engine crane to move them around in the workshop. Terrific bits of kit, but just not so practical when you need to move house from time to time, as I do with work. So this is a good compromise. I've had a Myford ML7, I've had a Super 7. This I came across while I was living in Canada, built in 1967, going by the serial number, and came with quite a few accessories. This was more or less the top of the line model at the time, as I understand it, with the full milling attachment, the quick change tool, tool post, the quick change gearbox, and it's all quite original. Original motors. It's had one capacitor change on the lathe motor. Previous owners fitted the link belts, which I'm not entirely sold on. I may go back to the right sized V-belt. I think these are a little bit unnecessarily noisy. There are some sacrificial tumblers in here, which you can see. I had to repair that one. That was cracked in half by the previous owner, who'd gone from forward to reverse in short order without the machine stopping. I don't think he realised the significance of that, and I machined a ring and some other bits and glued it back together. So not ideal, but certainly works quite effectively for using the gearbox and operating the lead screw. Lathe came with a few other accessories actually, which I can show you, which are really quite good. A beautiful indexing attachment there, tilting table, very nice quality. It's a Japanese product, that one, not an Emco, I don't believe, but yeah, really nice bit of kit. Plus a bunch of tooling, 3 and a 4 jaw, some other bits and pieces that I have. But yeah, great machine, really good machine. I build and repair live steam locomotives and small steam engines, and the Maximat is more than sufficient to do that sort of work. I only work in 3.5 inch and 5 inch gauge, and yeah, doesn't tax this machine too much at all. So I'll quickly fire it up just to demonstrate the diamond tool holder and the quick change tool post in action. So I'll just sort of put a piece of stock in there just to get going. Yeah, so that's it. That's the end mill I used to take the material off the base of the tool holder, the quick change tool post, and that did that quite adequately. I took 25,000 cuts, and yeah, no problem at all. All right, so that's the Maximat Compact. As I said to someone earlier, I did look at a V10, which is a later iteration of this machine a few years ago when I was up in Canada. A really nice one. It was quite new, but for those that are familiar, they would know that the V10s went from a belt drive, so this arrangement here, to a gear drive. So motor was in a similar position, but belts and gears here, and rather than changing speeds through changing belt positions like you might on a Myford or this, there was a couple of levers here, and same for the milling attachment, and you could reconfigure the gears through some clutch forks. But doing some research on that arrangement, I sort of read that the shifting forks were prone to failure, and the gears were both steel and a composite material, and if the machine hadn't been looked after, then they would suffer damage and could be problematic. Whereas this machine, simple drive belts, I've got roller bearings in here, pretty heavily over-engineered headstock for both a mill and a lathe, to be honest, for this size lathe. Can you compare it to something like a Myford? But just brilliant, just brilliant. And interestingly, I've got the original brochures for these, and there's images of the Maximat Compact in a number of NASA laboratories in the mid to late 1960s, which is kind of cool. So they were obviously regarded as quality enough for application at NASA, which I think is quite neat. All right, that's all I'll say. I'm not an expert on these machines by any measure, but really enjoy using them and the quality of the machine. So if you do see one and you're in the market, I would highly recommend you purchase one. I've had no issue with parts. As I said, tumbler was broken. I managed to repair that using the machine itself. I haven't had any requirement for any other spares, so touch wood. All right, thanks for watching.